Hey, how y'all doing? This is Mongo Slade, and today we're going to talk about five of the best and five of the worst name changes in WWE and WCW. But first, hit the like button for me. Also, hit subscribe. I appreciate everybody who is still subscribed and subscribed to the channel. So, people hate when wrestlers change their names. Usually, it's something that the office has done. They change somebody's name, especially in WWE, is usually marketing or somebody like that has decided that we're going to change somebody's name. But sometimes you do change names and they're a good thing. Sometimes, and to before we get into this, I want to make sure that we discuss and that we're talking about the same persona. I know this is something that's weird for, old school wrestling fans where they'd probably be like, what does that mean? But it's like, uh, let's say, you got a wrestler who hasn't changed their persona. They're the same person. They're just changing their name. It's different from changing a character. Like we're not going to talk about Glenn Jacobs going from Isaac Yankem to Kane. That's a completely different character, completely different persona. But we will be talking about, well, to give you a good example, I do believe that Booker T, lost the T in his name and for a while was just being called Booker. That's stupid. Okay, that is absolutely dumb. It's dumb. It's very dumb. it's, it's, it's it's high level stupidity, right? And whoever wrote that storyline, I'm pretty sure it was Vince Russo, is a moron, right? So that's kind of stuff that we're talking about here. It's still the same person, same theme music, same everything, just a different name change. So sometimes these things go well. So let's talk about some times where things have gone okay. So number five, we're gonna go with Bradshaw. So Bradshaw, when he first came in, was Justin Hawk Bradshaw, who is sort of a cowboy, but he was sort of like he was doing his best Stan Hansen, Stan the Lariat Hansen impersonation. He was basically doing a parody. The parody idea never works. I don't understand why WWE brings guys in as a parody of somebody else. Like that's guaranteed that you're going to get jobbed out. But for a long time, Bradshaw's name was Bradshaw. And then he kind of became JBL, with Justin Hawk Bradshaw. Then it was just Bradshaw, which was the rebranding, which was actually better than Justin Hawk Bradshaw, was just saying just Bradshaw. That was already an improvement. So that was, then of course the JBL was sort of a new character, so you kind of want to just kind of stop and be like, I don't know if this is completely, but they never denied that it was the same person, so it wasn't like he changed. He disappeared for a while and came back as a completely different individual. It was always still Bradshaw of the APA, who just was now choosing to go by his whole name, John Bradshaw Layfield, which was shortened to JBL. So that was one of the better name changes. And sometimes the name change does come with a change in your whole marketing thing, your whole look and everything. But I wouldn't say it's a complete change in persona. You're still the same person, because Bradshaw was still sort of the same person. Along that same line, number four, I'm gonna go with Buff Bagwell because the word buff isn't something that I would ever use in a real conversation. Like whoever uses the word buff, nobody. But for years, Marcus Alexander Bagwell was some undercard nobody. And it took for him to turn heel to sort of grow his persona. And basically, they just leaned on his background as I think he was a dancer, a male stripper, I believe he was. I think that is a shoot. And that he was in really good shape. So they just start calling him Buff. Buff is the stuff and all that junk. And he became pretty much this wildly arrogant heel, but it was always Marcus Alexander Bagwell. He just calls himself Buff Bagwell now, and so it was along the same lines where it was never a completely different character flip. Along the same line, sometimes you have these little things where you will have like Goldberg. Where he was, if you go back and watch WCW, sometimes the card would say Bill Goldberg, and then out of nowhere it would just be Goldberg, which was a great change because it we of course everybody who watched this show know his name is Bill, but who cares? It's like one of those WWE cosmetic changes where it doesn't really matter. But then you have the whole cloth name change, and so we're going to come with number three. We're going to go with Kane and Cole who ended up becoming Booker T and Stevie Ray of Harlem Heat. So when Harlem Heat first came to WCW, they were called Kane and Cole. I don't know which is which. I barely barely remember. But they were it was those were stupid names. You know, it was dumb names. But they ended up going by Booker T and Stevie Ray, and that of course stuck, and that was pretty cool. Because I don't think Kane and Cole actually work as names anyway. Another good name change is Big E. Because if you look at Big E Langston is weird. Like I don't know where the word Langston came from. Like I don't think that's his real name. But when you think of Big E, like it took me a while to get it, like Biggie Smalls and Notorious B.I.G. That kind of connotation is what you're supposed to get from Big E, even though it looks weird, you know. But you do get that connotation that you're just basically calling him Biggie, which is cool, especially in the black community because sometimes there's a not just a Notorious B.I.G. There was also a Biggie Smalls from the very same movie I get my name from. So, so that was pretty cool as well. I think I've lost count on how many of these things I've done because I wrote down a bunch of them, a bunch of good ones, and then I was supposed to pick five, but I just started talking, and now I've lost count on how many of these things I was supposed to do. Because I also have from Paul White to the Big Show. As much as I hate the name Big Show, it's a lot better than him going by his real name. It just it feels more wrestling to call a guy the Big Show, but fuck the Big Show. But number one on my list is going from Rocky Maivia to The Rock. Now, a lot of people don't understand. He was still calling himself Rocky Maivia while he started calling himself The Rock. Like The Rock is a thing that sort of it morphed into. Like he was still Rocky Maivia when he was calling himself The Rock. And so it became like a nickname that he gave to himself that then morphed into something completely different. And then, of course, it came with not much of a shift in character either. Like he was still Rocky Maivia. And then out of nowhere, he just became The Rock. And that was pretty sweet. And The Rock is a cool name, And, you always go with the cool names. Now, there's a litany of bad names. There's too many to list. I've already given you one where you had Booker lose the T and he was Booker. Just like that was incredibly stupid. That was that one was so stupid, like it hurts my brain. So let's talk about a few of them. I'm not going to even list them. I came into this video with five. I'm just going to start listing some. And I know it's going to be, if people are like, oh, it's going to be easy. It's going to be Adrian Neville to Neville and Alexander Rusev to Rusev and Antonio Cesaro to Cesaro. Like, no, that's not, I'm not even thinking on that level. Okay. Those are petty changes. They don't really mean anything. Like Matt Riddle to Riddle is still his name. It's not really a big change. What I'm talking about here is Chad Gable to Shorty G, which should be number one. It should, for all intents and purposes, it is the worst name change. Because Shorty G. I don't even know what that means. Does the G stand for Gable? Because why not Shorty Gable? That's actually okay. Shorty Gable sounds significantly less stupid than Shorty G. Shorty G just sounds dumb. Okay? And it sounds almost fake rap-ish. Like you are like a rapper from like 1991. Back when Warren G was a thing. You'll be like, oh, that's Warren G. You got G Dep. You got G Loke. I'm going to call myself Shorty G. He might as well have dressed like, Chris Rock and CB4. It was awful. It was an awful name change. One of the worst name changes in the business. Their equally stupid name is the Total Package. For a lot of people who don't know, Lex Luger, for some odd reason, in the late 90s, started calling himself, getting rid of the name Lex Luger, and started calling himself the Total Package. Now, it came with a really fucking awesome entrance. Like, the Lex Luger entrance when he became the Total Package was fantastic. Like, it was the precursor to the Masterpiece entrance, where, you had the spotlight, the darkness and the spotlight on Lex. And then, Elizabeth would rip his gear off. It was like a really boss ass entrance. But I don't know why he started calling himself the Total Package. I mean, it just throws me for a loop every time I see it. You know, like every time I see it, I just kind of like, I can't believe he really just started calling himself the total package. But I mean, he had been calling himself that since the late '80s. But it wasn't a name; it was a nickname. It was like if Ric Flair had changed his name to Nature Boy. You know, it's like why? You know, just why? It's dumb. It doesn't fit. And you know, they would sometimes refer to him as Luger because WCW they didn't care about continuity. So it would be like they would still call him Luger sometimes, but his card and if you go on the network, his name was actually the Total Package. Stupid. So you also had Terry Taylor go from Terry Taylor to the Taylor Made Man. The Taylor Made Man. And I don't know. He dressed like Ted DiBiase, and he literally was wearing a Ted DiBiase costume. Like, if you've ever seen the Taylor Made Man, uh, which was Terry Taylor in WCW, it was one of his WCW really bad gimmicks. But they basically gave him that cartoon tuxedo that Ted DiBiase usually wears. He was literally walking around in that thing, and I was like, "Oh, man, man!" He looked ridiculous, and the name is stupid. I mean, as stupid as that was, it's uncannily stupid because literally he was Terry Taylor like weeks before this, and then he came out calling himself the Taylor Made Man. It was absolutely some of the stupidest ish in the world, man. It was really dumb. It was it was real dumb. I didn't get this name change when it took place at the time. When they flipped Johnny Nitro to John Morrison. For a lot of people who don't know, before John Morrison was Johnny Impact. I believe he was all. What else would he go by when he was in Lucha Underground? I don't remember what he called himself in Lucha Underground. I know it wasn't like Johnny Underground or Johnny Lucha or nothing like that. But there became a theme where he would take the names of wrestling shows. But he was originally Johnny Nitro, and that's a cool name. You know, you could have just called. Well, I don't know how John Nitro would work, but Johnny Nitro is a cool name. You know, and then it also made sense because he was dubbed Johnny Nitro by Eric Bischoff, who was the creator of Monday Night Nitro. So they make sense. And then for some odd reason, they decided that, when he won the ECW title, that he was no longer Johnny Nitro, that he was now John Morrison. And then he started doing the whole Doors thing, where of course, like I said, it's the same person, essentially the same persona. He was still wearing the coat, and I think he changed the coat up a little bit, but he changed his look a little bit, but that it wasn't a big complete overhaul of the character or of the person. But the name was so stupid. Like even today, I don't understand why he still calls himself John Morrison. I don't wait, well his name is real John. His real name is John, so I guess I guess where the John part came in. But I didn't get John Morrison. And I know that they wanted him to be named after Jim Morrison. Similarly, you had Kenny Dykstra, which is also really stupid. It's real stupid. Um, sometimes, man, I don't get it. Like that's another one. Like when you just randomly change the last name or randomly add a last name, it's real bizarre, and it doesn't fit. Like Dykstra never fit Kenny, and I don't think he's ever going to go anywhere with that name, Kenny Dykstra. That was dumb. That was dumb. And sometimes adding things like switching the name from Nitro, which gives you the idea of energy, fast, speed. These kinds of things fit him, like a human race car. That sounds cool because he works that kind of style where he's doing a lot of the flippity doos, very acrobatic. You can feel Nitro. It's a good word. Morrison. I don't get it. Don't understand it. Now Kenny was bland by itself, because we all knew that he was Kenny from Spirit Squad. But the Kenny Dykstra, where does the Dykstra come from? And I know this is because somebody said that he looks like somebody from baseball. I believe it was a baseball reference. It's like, yeah, but I didn't get it. It was dumb. I don't get it. But number one with a bullet, without question, the Viking Experience. It is the worst name I have ever, ever heard. It is the worst name I have ever heard. It was so bad. It was if we being honest, and I'm gonna be completely honest with this, I'm gonna shoot straight from the hip. This was a Shockmaster moment. Like if you remember the Shockmaster when he stumbled over that beam and fell and his helmet fell off and all that stuff. That's what this Viking Experience thing was for the Viking Raiders. You know, when they came out as the Viking Experience, it was so bad that you can never recover. And I don't think they have ever recovered from being the Viking Experience. It was that bad. And I'm one of those people that don't think names matter that much. You know, I think names can add and they can also subtract, but you can't be buried by a name. Like Dolph Ziggler got over the name Dolph Ziggler. You can get over it. You know, you can have a silly, goofy ass name and still not end up being buried. But when you come out as the Viking Experience and you're supposed to be like tough guys, it's like what does that even mean? Is it like Oktoberfest where we're just gonna wear Viking garb and drink mead and do what? Throw axes? Or like, yeah, all that stuff is cool, but I thought they were supposed to be like real Vikings. Like, is it cooler to be Viking cosplay or to be Vikings? And so, I mean, that speaks for itself, right? The Viking Experience is like something you go to, like an event that you go to, and it's terrible. It's got to be one of the worst names I've ever heard. It is not, in fact, it's not one of, it is the worst wrestling name I've ever heard. And I've heard some pretty stupid wrestling names. But changing somebody from the War Raiders to Viking Raiders, because you don't want to have to deal with the word war, which makes sense because, PG, you don't want anything to do with guns, you don't want anything to do with war, which is also why, Carl Anderson couldn't call himself the Machine Gun anymore. So, you had those things get pulled, but you also had the word Raiders. And so you don't know if the word Raider works or not. Now they ended up surrendering and basically giving them the word Raider back. But geez, man, that one night when they came out as the Viking Experience, killed them dead. They were dead, and that's sad. That's real sad. That's real sad. But I do like another good one that I think that I do like was Bad News Barrett, even though it wasn't a complete name change. It was just basically adding a nickname. Like, they stopped calling him Wade. Like his name was not Wade anymore. It was now Bad News Barrett. So I wrote that down and then forgot about it. So if you listen this far into the video, add that one to the good change column. So Bad News Barrett was actually pretty good. But most of these things could be very bad. Most of them are senseless, like Adrian Neville to Neville. That one is kind of leaves you. It's like a head scratcher, but you get used to it. But then you have the Tailor-Made Man or the Total Package, which the Total Package, exactly, it makes sense. I just don't know why he did it, and I don't understand what that was supposed to mean for Lex Luger. Like he had already been calling himself the Total Package. Like, I get why they decided that Booker T's name had to change, which was real dumb. I mean, that one hurts. That one legitimately hurts because he lost his T in a match. Like, I get losing your name in a match. That would actually be a cool gimmick, like the to have a loser gets renamed match. Then the winner gets to pick the stupidest name in the world, and give them that name. But it's that sounds like that's what happened. That literally happened to Booker T. But let me know what you guys think. What are some good name changes and what are some bad ones? Let me know in the comment section below. Like this video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will talk to you guys later.